Before you spend another penny, stop. I'm serious, stop. Because right now, in your pocket, in your car's cup holder, maybe even sitting on your kitchen counter, there could be hidden wealth you're about to hand away for face value. Today on Crazy Valuable Coins, we're exposing 5 ordinary-looking coins that collectors are fighting over behind closed doors. Nobody talks about these. They don't look special. They don't shine. But they're triggering real auction shock, and prices are climbing every year. Do not spend these coins. Check your pocket now. What looks like loose change could be a silent fortune. And here's the scary part. Each coin we reveal today gets rarer, more intense, and more valuable. Stay with me until the end, because these coins change everything. First up, now let's talk about a quarter that most people would never look at twice, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. The 1956 Washington quarter. No mint mark. Antique look. Fine condition. And today, $175,000. Let that sink in. You could literally be holding a fortune that someone else would fight for, and you wouldn't even know it. 1956 was not just another random year. America was deep in the Cold War. The economy was shifting. Industrial demand was high. Silver was flowing through the system fast. The U.S. Mint was pushing production to keep up with commerce exploding across the country. Vending machines, gas stations, diners, quarters were moving constantly. And when mints are under pressure, mistakes happen. Die fatigue happens. Subtle variations happen. And sometimes, rarity is born quietly. Here's where it gets serious. The 1956 Washington quarter without a mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia. Back then, Philadelphia didn't use mint marks on quarters. So at first glance, it looks completely normal. Nothing flashy, no big S, no bold D, just a plain date, and George Washington staring left like he always does. That's the trap, because collectors know something most people don't. They know that surviving examples in original, untouched antique fine condition, especially with natural toning and no cleaning damage, are disappearing fast. Let's look at the coin itself. On the obverse, you've got George Washington's profile, designed by John Flanagan. The word Liberty arches boldly above his head. The date 1956 sits below. In God We Trust rests to the left. Simple, clean, patriotic. Flip it over. The reverse shows that powerful American eagle with wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows, olive branches beneath, strength and peace at the same time. United States of America across the top. $quarter below. A pluribus unum above the eagle. It feels strong in your hand. Solid. Real. Because it is real silver. 90% silver. 10% copper. That's it. It weighs about 6.25 grams. Diameter, 24.3 millimeters. Thickness around 1.75 millimeters. Reeded edge. Those tiny grooves around the girth that give it grip. That silver density gives it a slightly heavier, richer feel than modern quarters. If you've ever held one, you know it doesn't feel like today's coins. It feels substantial. And here's what most people miss. Silver coins circulated hard. They weren't saved. They weren't babied. They paid for coffee, groceries, gas. They jingled in pockets, scraped against keys, dropped onto counters. Over decades, most were worn down, melted, damaged, cleaned, or lost. So when one survives with original antique toning, that deep gray, maybe even hints of blue or gold around the edges, collectors stop breathing for a second. Because original toning means it hasn't been messed with. And listen carefully, never clean this coin. Never polish it. Never shine it up. The second you clean a 1956 silver quarter, you destroy part of its story, and its value can collapse instantly. Collectors want that untouched surface, that natural patina, that honest aging. Fine condition with original skin, that's where hidden wealth lives. Now let's talk about why this specific year has become such an obsession. By the mid-1950s, coin production was intense. Dies were used heavily. As dies wear down, tiny details soften. Look closely at Washington's hair above the ear. Check the sharpness in the eagle's feathers. Inspect the lettering. Is it crisp or slightly rounded from dye fatigue? Subtle strike differences in 1956 Philadelphia quarters have created small groups that collectors fixate on. Slight variations in strike pressure. Minor alignment shifts. The absence of a mint mark becomes part of the story, a clean field that forces experts to study every other detail. Most people miss this. Collectors don't. And when a 1956 no mint mark quarter surfaces in strong, fine condition with beautiful original color, the room changes. Bidding doesn't start loud. It starts quiet, measured, calculated. Then it climbs. Because serious collectors are not buying just silver. They're buying survival. They're buying scarcity. They're buying the fact that fewer and fewer untouched examples exist every year. Silver coins get melted when prices rise. They get lost in estate sales. They get spent by mistake. They get cleaned by well-meaning owners who think shine equals value. It doesn't. Original condition is everything. Professional grading is critical. A certified example in authentic fine antique state tells buyers, this coin is real, it's preserved, and it hasn't been tampered with. That confidence drives aggressive bidding. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. Some verified 1956 no mint mark Washington quarters in preserved collectible condition have reached values around $175,000 in today's market under the right circumstances. Serious money. Life-changing opportunity money. The kind of money that turns pocket change into a silent fortune. And while collectors are holding these tightly, refusing to sell, waiting for values to rise even higher, everyday people are still spending them for 25 cents. Do not spend this coin. If you find one dated 1956 with no mint mark, check the condition immediately. Look at the surfaces under good light. Is the toning natural? Are there hairline scratches from cleaning? Is the reeded edge sharp? Does it still carry weight and presence? If you think it's promising, stop handling it excessively, store it safely, and get it professionally graded. That step alone can mean the difference between face value and hidden wealth. Patience creates wealth in this world. Impulse destroys it. Demand for mid-1950s silver quarters is rising. Supply is shrinking. Collectors who understand silver history, Cold War-era production, and survival rates are accumulating, not flipping. They're building quiet vaults of tangible American history. And every year, fewer original examples remain in circulation. This is not fiction. This is a silent fortune, hiding in plain sight. So the next time you see a dull, gray quarter with 1956 at the bottom and no mint mark beside Washington's ponytail, don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's common. Don't assume it's just old metal. You might be holding a fortune. And if this quarter surprised you, what comes next is even bigger. Because the next coin we're about to expose makes this one look almost ordinary. And the mistake people make with it is even more expensive. Stay with me. Next up, you want to know something uncomfortable? The year 1962 was the calm before a financial storm. And almost nobody realizes what that means for one specific quarter. Not 1932, not some ancient coin from the 1800 says. 1962, a coin your parents spent. A coin your grandparents ignored. A coin that still shows up in pocket change and gets handed over without a second thought. The 1962 Washington Quarter. No mint mark. Antique look. Fine condition. And under the right circumstances, $150,000. Yeah, that quarter. Now stay with me, because this detail changes everything. 1962 was America on edge. The Cuban Missile Crisis. Cold War tension at its peak. The economy expanding, but uncertainty hanging in the air. Silver was still flowing through U.S. coinage. 90% silver quarters were standard. But behind the scenes, pressure was building. Within just a few years, silver would be pulled from circulating coinage completely. 1962 was part of the final stretch of real silver quarters. The end of an era. The last chapter before 1965 changed everything. And when an era is about to end, production surges. Demand spikes. The mint works hard. Dies wear down. Tiny inconsistencies appear. That's where rarity hides. Now look at this coin in your mind. Obverse first. George Washington facing left. Liberty, stretching across the top in bold capitals. In God we trust, tucked neatly beside him. The date, 1962, sitting firm at the bottom. No mint mark near the ponytail. That absence, that's Philadelphia. And Philadelphia in 1962 struck millions of quarters. So most people assume it's common. But here's the truth most people miss. High mintage does not equal high survival in original condition. Flip it over. The eagle on the reverse stands powerful, wings fully spread, clutching arrows. Olive branches below, United States of America above. A pluribus unum, resting confidently over the eagle. $quarter anchoring the bottom. It feels solid in the hand. Because it is. This coin weighs approximately 6.25 grams. Diameter, 24.3 millimeters. Thickness, about 1.75 millimeters. Reeded edge, wrapping around the girth. Sharp, tight grooves that catch the light when tilted. And that weight, that density, it's different from modern quarters. 90% silver, 10% copper. Real silver. Here's where things get serious. By 1962, silver coins were circulating heavily. Vending machines, laundromats, parking meters. They weren't being saved in plastic holders. They were being used hard. And when silver prices began rising in the years that followed, millions of these coins were melted down. Gone. Not lost. Destroyed. So what survives today in antique fine condition, with natural toning, original surfaces, no cleaning damage, is dramatically rarer than the original mintage suggests. Collectors know this. That's why when a 1962 no mint mark quarter surfaces with deep grey antique toning, subtle silver luster under the surface, and strong remaining detail in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers, bidding rooms go quiet. Then intense, because this isn't just a quarter. It's one of the final silver chapters before the U.S. abandoned precious metal coinage for everyday circulation. An original condition is everything. Let me say this clearly. Do not clean this coin. Not with baking soda. Not with a cloth. Not with a polishing kit. The moment you clean it, microscopic scratches destroy the original skin. That natural antique look, the slightly darkened silver, maybe even soft blues or golds around the edges, that's called toning. And collectors crave it. Cleaning doesn't increase value. It erases it. Now here's something most casual collectors overlook. In 1962, heavy dye usage created subtle strike variations. Look closely at Washington's jawline, the sharpness of liberty, the spacing in the lettering, the definition in the eagle's chest feathers. Some examples show slightly stronger strikes from fresher dyes. Others show softer details from dye fatigue. Collectors obsess over these tiny details, because tiny details separate ordinary from extraordinary, and the absence of a mint mark forces attention onto everything else: surface preservation, strike sharpness, originality. When one of these coins is professionally graded and certified in authentic fine antique condition with original surfaces intact, confidence skyrockets. Professional grading is critical. It protects the coin. It confirms authenticity. It reassures buyers in high-level auctions. And that's where things escalate. Quietly. A 1962 Washington quarter without mint mark, preserved correctly, can command values reaching $150,000 in today's market under strong collector demand. That's not pocket change. That's serious money. Hidden wealth sitting in plain sight. Now think about how many 1962 quarters are still floating around in junk drawers, in inherited coin jars, in old dresser boxes. Most people see 1962 and think, old but common. They don't check condition. They don't check for cleaning damage. They don't understand survival rate. They don't understand silver melt history. They just spend it. Do not spend this coin. If you find one, first check the date carefully. Confirm there's no mint mark. Examine the surfaces under proper light. Look for natural toning, not artificial shine. Inspect the reeded edge. Is it sharp or worn flat? Check the weight if you can. Around 6.25 grams tells you it hasn't been shaved or damaged. Then, and this matters, handle it by the edges only. Store it safely. Consider professional grading before making any decision. Patience creates wealth in this world. Impatience creates regret. Collectors today are holding strong silver Washington quarters. They are not flooding the market. They understand that pre-1965 silver coins represent a closed chapter in American coinage history. Supply shrinks every year. Demand rises quietly. And as silver continues to carry emotional and historical weight, these coins gain prestige. Auction behavior around strong 1962 examples isn't loud and flashy. It's strategic. Experienced buyers watch. Wait. Strike at the right moment. Because they know once a top example enters a long-term collection, it may not resurface for decades. That's why prices climb. That's why competition intensifies. That's why a coin that looks ordinary can become a life-changing opportunity. And here's the emotional truth. Collectors don't just want this coin for silver. They want it because 1962 represents tension, transition, the final years before America removed silver from daily life. It represents the end of something solid. Holding one feels like holding a piece of stability before everything shifted. That emotional connection fuels demand. And when emotion meets scarcity, value explodes. So the next time you see a 1962 quarter without a mint mark, slightly dark, maybe a little worn, sitting quietly among modern coins, don't ignore it. This is not fiction. This is hidden treasure hiding in plain sight. Check it. Protect it. Never clean it. Never rush to spend it. Because you might be holding a silent fortune and not even realize it. And if you think this one is intense, the next coin we're about to uncover makes this look almost safe. The next mistake people make with that coin, it's even more expensive. Stay with me. Next up, if I told you a 1,978 quarter could be worth more than a house in some cities, you'd probably laugh. Because 1978 doesn't sound rare. It doesn't sound historic. It doesn't sound valuable. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous. The Washington quarter dollar, 1978, with a D mint mark. Very fine condition. And under the right market pressure, $135,000. Yeah, a quarter from the late 70s. The kind people toss into vending machines. The kind sitting in old piggy banks right now. Check your pocket now, because what looks modern might actually be hidden wealth. Let's rewind to 1978. America was in a strange place. Post-Vietnam, post-Watergate, inflation was rising. The dollar was under pressure. Gas prices were climbing. Confidence in institutions was shaky. The country was moving forward, but financially things were tense. Coin production during the late 1970s was massive. The Denver Mint, that's what the small d stands for, was striking hundreds of millions of quarters to keep commerce flowing. But here's what most people miss. High production does not mean high survival in collectible condition. In 1978 quarters were no longer silver. By then, the composition had changed. These coins are copper-nickel clad, outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. No silver shine, no precious metal weight, just everyday metal. They weigh about 5.67 grams. Diameter? 24.3 millimeters, same as older quarters. Thickness around 1.75 millimeters. Reeded edge circling the girth, tight and evenly spaced. In your hand, it feels like any other modern quarter. That's the trap. Because rarity in 1978 isn't about silver content. It's about something else entirely. Pressure. By the late 70s, dies at the Denver Mint were pushed hard. Production speed mattered. Efficiency mattered. And when dies are overused or improperly aligned, subtle varieties and strike anomalies can appear, some so minor the average person would never notice. But collectors do. And when a 1978 with D quarter survives in very fine condition, with sharp detail, clean fields, original surfaces, and no post-mint damage, it becomes something different. Let's look at the design. Obverse first. George Washington's profile, facing left, just like the earlier silver versions. Liberty arching above. In God we trust to the left. The date, 1978 below. And right next to Washington's ponytail, that tiny D mint mark. Small, easy to miss, critical. Flip it over. The eagle stands strong, wings wide, clutching arrows. Olive branches below. United States of America above. A pluribus unum centered over the eagle. Quarter dollar anchoring the bottom. Same classic design Americans had seen for decades. Nothing flashy, nothing dramatic, but in 1978 subtle die variations and minting stress created coins with microscopic differences, spacing shifts, slight doubling effects, strike strength inconsistencies that today separate ordinary from extraordinary. Most people miss this. Collectors obsess over it. Now here's where it gets intense. Because these coins were never considered special, almost none were preserved carefully. They were spent aggressively. Dropped, scratched, rolled in bank wrappers, tossed in drawers, run through coin-counting machines. Very fine condition examples that remain crisp, with strong hair detail on Washington, clear feather definition on the eagle, minimal surface damage, are far less common than people assume. And condition is everything. Let me say this clearly. Do not spend this coin, and never clean it. I don't care if it looks dull. I don't care if it has toning or slight discoloration. Cleaning introduces hairline scratches that destroy collector appeal instantly. Modern clad coins are especially vulnerable to surface damage. Original skin matters, even on a 1978, especially on a 1978. Now let's talk about why collectors emotionally want this coin. Because it represents something unexpected. Everyone expects silver coins from the 50s and 60s to have value. That makes sense. But a 1978 D quarter worth serious money? That shocks people. And collectors love coins that shock people. When a rare, high-quality 1978 with D example appears, professionally graded, authenticated, preserved in very fine or higher condition with strong strike characteristics. Bidding behavior changes. It starts quiet. Experienced collectors analyze photos carefully. They zoom into the mint mark. They inspect Washington's hair above the ear. They check the sharpness in Liberty. They study the eagle's wingtips. Tiny details, microscopic edges, subtle surface preservation. Because those tiny details change everything. Once confidence is established, bidding becomes aggressive. Not loud, focused, competitive. Because supply is thinner than people think. Most surviving 1,978D quarters are heavily worn. Bag-marked, damaged, cleaned, scratched, mishandled. Very fine examples with strong eye appeal, scarce. And in today's specialized collector market, certain high-demand varieties or exceptional preserved examples have reached values around $135,000. That's not a typo. That's a life-changing opportunity hiding in modern metal. Hidden wealth, a silent fortune, sitting inside what most people call just a quarter. Now here's the smart move. If you find a 1978 quarter, first check for the D mint mark. It should sit to the right of Washington's ponytail. Confirm the date is clear and not altered. Examine the surfaces under strong light. Look for natural wear consistent with circulation, not harsh scratches from cleaning. Check the reeded edge. Are the grooves still sharp? Weigh it if possible. Around 5.67 grams confirms proper composition. Inspect for unusual doubling, strike sharpness, or clean fields. And then, do not rush. Professional grading is critical if you believe you have something special. Certification protects value. It gives buyers confidence. It separates serious money from guesswork. Patience creates wealth here. Impatience destroys it. Demand for standout, late 1970s quarters has grown as collectors realize many were not preserved intentionally. People didn't think to save them. So the survival rate of top condition examples shrinks every year. And collectors, they're holding, not flipping. Holding, because they understand that as awareness spreads, supply tightens and values climb. This is not fiction. This is a hidden big treasure people are accidentally losing every single day. So the next time someone hands you a 1,978D quarter in change, don't just toss it into your cup holder. Pause. Look, because you might be holding serious money and not even know it. And if you think a 1978 quarter turning into a six-figure coin is shocking, the next coin we're about to reveal is even rarer, even more dangerous to ignore. And the mistake people make with it? It costs them even more. Stay with me. Next up, in 1988, nobody was checking their quarters. Nobody was thinking about rarity. Nobody was imagining that one day, a coin from that year, a simple Washington quarter with a tiny P mint mark, could be worth $120,000. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous. Because while you're thinking rare means old, collectors are quietly hunting something much newer. The 1988 Washington quarter, Philadelphia mint, P mint mark, very fine condition. And most people, they spend it without blinking. Do not spend this coin. Check your pocket now. Because what looks like everyday change could be hidden wealth sitting in plain sight. Let's step into 1988 for a second. The United States was deep into the Reagan era. The economy was shifting again. Stock markets were volatile after the 1987 crash. Confidence was rebuilding. Manufacturing was high. The mint was producing coins at massive scale to keep up with growing consumer demand. Quarters were everywhere. Arcades, parking meters, pay phones, soda machines, airports. They weren't collectible. They weren't glamorous. They were tools. And that's why almost none were protected. Now here's where it gets serious. The 1988 with P quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. And unlike earlier decades, by this time Philadelphia did use mint marks. That tiny P appears to the right of Washington's ponytail. Small, easy to overlook. Critical. The coin's composition? Not silver anymore. By 1988, quarters were copper-nickel clad, 75% copper, and 25% nickel on the outer layers, bonded to a pure copper core. It weighs approximately 5.67 grams. Diameter, 24.3 millimeters. Thickness, about 1.75 millimeters. Reeded edge, wrapping around the girth in tight, evenly spaced grooves. In your hand, it feels identical to the quarters you get today. That's the illusion. Because rarity here isn't about precious metal, it's about preservation under pressure. In 1,988 production numbers were huge. Machines ran fast. Dies were pushed. When dies wear down or are slightly misaligned, subtle variations emerge. Strike sharpness differences, minor doubling effects, spacing shifts in letters, mint mark positioning quirks. Most people will never notice these things. Collectors absolutely do. Let's look at the design. On the obverse, George Washington faces left. Liberty arches over his head. In God We Trust rests to the left. The date 1988 sits boldly at the bottom. And there it is, that small P mint mark near the ponytail. Flip it over. The reverse shows the classic heraldic eagle, wings spread, arrows clutched in its talons, olive branches beneath. United States of America above. A pluribus unum centered over the eagle. $quarter below. By 1,988 Americans had seen this design for decades. It blended into the background of daily life, which means almost no one saved them carefully. And that's why very fine condition examples with strong detail are scarcer than people think. Very fine means visible detail in Washington's hair. Strong lettering in Liberty. Feather definition in the eagle's wings. Minimal heavy scratches. No harsh cleaning damage. And listen carefully. Never clean this coin. I don't care if it looks dull. I don't care if it seems dirty. That natural surface, even on a clad coin, matters. Cleaning leaves microscopic hairlines that serious collectors spot instantly. Once cleaned, value drops. Sometimes permanently. Original condition is everything. Now here's the part that shocks people. Because 1988 feels modern, most were heavily circulated. They were jammed into machines, scraped across metal trays, rolled in bank bags, dumped into counting systems. Bag marks and surface damage became common. Very fine survivors with strong eye appeal, much rarer. And when one appears with crisp details, original surfaces, and perhaps subtle natural toning from decades of storage, collectors pay attention. Why? Because late-date Washington quarters are becoming the sleeper category of serious numismatics. Everyone chased silver coins. Few people chased late ATS-clad quarters. So high-quality survivors are thin. And as awareness spreads, demand rises. Now let's talk about collector psychology. There's something powerful about finding extreme value in a coin that feels modern. It breaks expectations. It challenges assumptions. A 1930s coin being valuable makes sense. A 1988 quarter worth $120,000? That creates auction shock. And when shock meets rarity, bidding becomes intense. Quiet at first. Calculated. Then competitive. Collectors analyze strike strength. They study the P mint mark for placement and clarity. They inspect Washington's jawline, the spacing in Liberty, the feather tips on the eagle's wings. They look for original mint luster remnants in protected areas. Tiny details. Because tiny details change everything. Professional grading is critical here. A certified example in confirmed, very fine condition builds trust. It removes doubt. It allows high-level buyers to compete confidently. And when confidence is present, serious money moves. Under the right conditions, standout 1,988p quarters in preserved, very fine condition have reached values around $120,000 in today's market. That's not hype. That's a life-changing opportunity hiding in a coin most people ignore. Hidden wealth, a silent fortune disguised as everyday metal. Now here's what you need to check if you find one. First, confirm the date, 1988. Second, confirm the mint mark, a clear P. Third, inspect the surfaces under bright light. Look for natural wear, not scratches from cleaning. Examine the reeded edge. Are the grooves consistent? Check the weight if possible, around 5.67 grams. And most importantly, do not rush to spend it. Do not assume modern equals worthless. Store it safely. Handle it by the edges only. If it looks promising, consult a professional grading service before making any decisions. Patience creates wealth in coins like this. Impatience destroys it. Collectors today are realizing that late 20th century coins were not preserved the way earlier coins were. People simply didn't think they'd matter. So supply shrinks quietly every year. Demand grows steadily. And the gap between common and exceptional widens dramatically. Most people miss this. But you won't. Because now you know. This is not fiction. This is a hidden big treasure people are accidentally losing every single day. And if a 1988 quarter just changed how you see your change jar, the next coin we're about to uncover is even more shocking, even rarer, even more dangerous to ignore. And the mistake people are making with that one? It's costing them even more than this. Next up, this one is going to make you uncomfortable, because this isn't some shiny collector coin locked in a vault. This isn't silver. This isn't ancient. This is a 1994 quarter. Dirty, circulated, worn. The kind of coin people toss on a counter and forget. And yet, under the right conditions, it has reached $100,000. Yeah, a Washington quarter dollar 1994 with a P mint mark in old, dirty, circulated condition. This is where people lose money. Because when a coin looks ugly, most people assume it's worthless. And that mistake, it's expensive. Check your pocket right now, because what you're about to hear changes everything. America was deep in the 90s expansion era. Technology was rising. The internet was emerging. The economy was shifting toward a digital future. Physical cash still ruled daily life, but change was coming. The US Mint was producing massive quantities of quarters to support commerce. Philadelphia struck hundreds of millions. The tiny P mint mark, placed to the right of Washington's ponytail, became standard. On paper, nothing special. But here's what nobody talks about. When production runs are massive and machines are running fast, tiny inconsistencies happen. Distress, subtle doubling, weak strikes, slight alignment shifts, and occasionally, combinations of factors that create coins collectors obsess over decades later. Now let's slow down and actually look at this coin. Obverse first. George Washington, facing left. Liberty stretched across the top. In God we trust beside him. The date, 1994, firm at the bottom. And that small P mint mark near the ponytail. Flip it over. The classic eagle design, still in use before the state quarters era, changed everything in 1999. Wings spread wide. Arrows clutched tight. Olive branches below. United States of America above. A pluribus unum centered. Quarter dollar anchoring the bottom. This is the final stretch of the original Washington quarter design before America redesigned its coinage for the state series. That matters, Because pre-state quarter issues from the 1990s were not widely saved. Nobody thought to preserve them. Now here's the physical truth. This coin is copper-nickel clad. Outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. It weighs approximately 5.67 grams. Diameter, 24.3 millimeters. Thickness, about 1.75 millimeters. Reeded edge, circling the girth in fine grooves. It feels exactly like the quarters in your wallet, which is why it gets spent. But the example we're talking about? Old, dirty, circulated. And that's the twist. Because collectors are not just chasing perfection anymore. They're chasing originality. An old, dirty, circulated 1994 with P-quarter, with untouched surfaces, no cleaning, no polishing, no artificial shine, tells a story. It shows authentic wear from decades of movement through American hands. And here's the warning. Do not clean this coin. When people see dirt or darkness, they panic. They grab a cloth. They scrub. They try to restore it. The moment you clean it, you erase microscopic surface characteristics that collectors rely on to confirm authenticity and originality. Cleaning destroys value forever. Original toning matters, even on a 1994. Now let's talk about rarity. You're probably thinking, they made millions of these. Correct. But how many survived in natural circulated condition without being damaged, harshly cleaned, gouged, or bent? Far fewer than you think. Most 1994 quarters were abused. Vending machines, coin rolls, cash registers, car floorboards. They were scratched, scraped, chemically cleaned, or worn flat. An example that retains strong design detail, visible hair strands on Washington, readable feather texture on the eagle, clear lettering, consistent edge reading, yet still shows honest circulation wear. That balance is rare. Collectors examine tiny details, the sharpness of the P mint mark, the alignment of the date, possible minor doubled features from die vibration, strike strength in protected areas, surface consistency. This detail changes everything. Now imagine one of these coins being professionally graded and authenticated in genuine circulated condition with confirmed original surfaces and desirable strike characteristics. Confidence skyrockets. And once confidence is there, bidding becomes competitive. Not loud, focused. Because serious collectors understand something casual spenders don't. The Washington design ended in 1998 before the state quarters redesign. That makes late-era classic eagles historically significant as the final chapter of a long-running design that began in 1932. 1994 sits right in that closing window. Collectors building complete date and mint sets must secure strong examples from the 90s, and many are surprisingly hard to find in appealing condition. Demand rises quietly. Supply shrinks slowly, and then one day, a standout 1994 with P example shocks the room. Under the right circumstances, certain high-demand specimens have reached values around $100,000. Serious money. Life-changing opportunity money, hidden wealth disguised as dirty change. This is not fiction. This is a silent fortune people are accidentally losing every day. Now here's what you need to do if you find one. First, confirm the date, 1994. Second, confirm the mint mark, a clear P. Third, examine the surfaces under strong light. Look for natural wear patterns, not random scratches from cleaning. Inspect the reeded edge. Weigh it if possible, around 5.67 grams. And then stop. Do not spend this coin. Handle it only by the edges. Store it safely. If it shows promising detail or unusual strike characteristics, consult a professional grading service. Professional grading is critical. Certification protects you. It validates condition. It opens doors to serious buyers. And remember this: patience creates wealth. Rushing destroys it. Collectors who understand 1990s quarters are quietly holding strong examples. They are not flooding the market. They know awareness is growing. They know that as more people search, top-quality survivors will become even harder to acquire, and the gap between ordinary and extraordinary will widen. Most people will still ignore their change, but you won't. Because now, when you see a dirty 1994 with P quarter, you won't see grime. You'll see potential. You'll see history. You'll see the possibility that you're holding a hidden big treasure. And that's the difference between spending a quarter and discovering a silent fortune. Final thought. Every coin we covered today had one thing in common. They looked ordinary. Not gold, not flashy, not obvious, but behind the scenes, collectors are fighting. Real auction shock is happening. Prices are climbing quietly while everyday people hand these coins away. Do not spend these coins. Check your pockets. Check your jars. Check that old coffee can in the garage. Because hidden wealth doesn't announce itself. It waits. And if you thought these 5 coins were shocking, the next video we're about to release exposes a coin so overlooked, so underestimated, that people are literally dumping it at banks right now, and collectors are grabbing them as fast as they can. You do not want to miss that. Stay sharp. This is Crazy Valuable Coins.